Well, all right. Welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Berlino here in the world famous As It Should Be studios. And, I'm going to try a new kind of video today, a new idea, ranking the album covers. You know, I do it ranking the songs and the singles and the albums, but this is going to be my very first ranking the album covers video. And, you know, what better band to start out with than Kiss? Yeah, Kiss. Now, I'm going to do 26 albums. Now, so what I'm doing basically is all the studio albums. The first album through Monster, but I'm also putting in, select live albums and greatest hits collections or whatever. Not all of them, because this doesn't need to be a 50 album list. I'm not doing like greatest Kiss and 40 and the Millennium Collection, all that crap. No. I'm just putting in a few select ones that mean something to me. All right. So deal with it, Kiss. Deal with it, Kiss fans. The Kiss Can Do No Wrong people. I don't know what to tell you. My video. Okay. Let's get right into it. First, I want to mention that I have just a few of the albums here physically on vinyl. I have all of them except for Revenge, Carnival of Souls, and Psycho Circus on vinyl. I have the CDs for those, but I never got vinyl copies of those albums. And most of my Kiss albums are not here in the world famous As It Should Be studios. They're in the world famous As It Should Be archives. So most of the albums are going to come up as pop-ups. But, you know, as I come up to albums that I actually have copies of here, I'm going to pull it up and show it. All right, so there you go. Now let's get started. Number 26, coming in at number 26, Kiss Killers. Yeah, Kiss Killers. Now, this is one of the compilations that I chose to put in, and one of the things that made me choose this and some of the other comps that I put in is that they have new original material. Kiss Killers is mostly, a hits collection or a compilation, but there are 4 new tracks on that, so, you know, it's worthy of including. But the cover's terrible. The cover's ridiculous. Come on. I think probably some people like it. Well, again, the Kiss Can Do No Wrong people probably love it. But it's really cheesy. It's really cheapo. Yeah, I mean, you know, with Kiss on the cover with short hair and their elder outfits with the sort of pink triangle in the background, everything, that kind of 80s, that really cheesy, cheapo-looking 80s background. It looks like it's a made-for-TV album or something. I don't know. It doesn't look like... Yeah, it's a really cheeseball album cover. It's lame. I have it at the bottom. All right, so coming in at number 25, I have Carnival of Souls. Yeah. Now, Carnival of Souls is not one of my favorite Kiss albums, and it is definitely not one of my favorite Kiss album covers. I mean, they kind of just threw this album out with no fanfare in 97-ish, when the original Kiss was out on tour in makeup, and they had a better cover, I think, planned for that album. You know, we've all seen the image that was inside the History book. But like I said, they kind of threw it out without any fanfare, and it's just basically just a photo of them standing there in the studio, you know, with beards holding guitars and stuff, and it's just, you know, it's not bad, it's just sort of, it's a non-event. It's just like a picture with text. That doesn't look like any, it just doesn't look like any time or care or any thought was even put into it. It's just like, oh, okay, there needs to be a picture of kid. Yeah, oh, this one. Well, yeah, whatever. And they put it, you know, luckily nobody's like blinking in the photo. I don't know, you would think. Okay, it's coming to number 24, Hot in the Shade. Yeah, you know, I've never liked this album cover much. I mean, it's okay. It's not... I don't like it, you know, with the Sphinx on the front. One thing, though, I always found very curious is that I think it's the one album, at least that I can think of, where the Kiss logo plays such a small part in the design, in the graphic design. I'm really kind of surprised that was allowed. You know, even then I remember going, whoa, the Kiss logo is very, very, very small in this. It isn't like the biggest thing on the fucking cover. But, yeah, I just always found, you know, I never really thought the title was that good. I think the cover's pretty lame. I think the album's pretty lame. There's some songs I like on it, but definitely, again, that's an album that I rank pretty low. And the cover is no better. All right, it's coming in number 23, another compilation that I put on this list because it has new tracks on it. Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. Yeah, now, that's not one of my favorite compilations. I can't stand the fact that they remix some of the songs, the 70s songs, to try to make them sound 80s. And, you have the Eric Carr track where he's singing Beth, which he didn't even want to do. And those god-awful new tracks, X and Sex and You Make Me Rock Hard. Come on, people. I mean, come on. Anyway, but the cover is what we're here to talk about. The cover, it's okay. It's not great. It's not awful. It's far better than the record. It's an image of Kiss standing in a sea of worshipping arms, with Paul Stanley going, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, typical 80s Kiss imagery. And, I mean, yeah, nothing special, but way better than the stuff I've talked about so far, so. Number 23. Okay, it's coming in number 22, Animalize. Animalize. Now, I remember when that album first came out and I first saw an image of it. I didn't actually see it in the store or anything. I just saw a little picture, a tiny picture of it in a magazine, like in a Circus magazine or Cream or something. And I remember thinking it looked kind of lame. Like it was like this sort of almost an afterthought, like nobody put any effort into it. And over time, I came to like it a bit more, but one thing always bugged me about it is that there were only 3 strips of animal fur. And I always thought, why aren't there 4? Is Paul Stanley kind of trying to, subtly say, Mark St. John isn't really a member of the band? Is that what's going on? Or is it maybe the fact that maybe they need a little bit of blank space to put the logo in at the top? Maybe they thought it would be too busy to have it over the fur. I don't know. But finally, one day, I decided to go into Photoshop and create my own version of the cover, which I will show you here. Yeah, see, I decided I had to have a cover that had 4 strips of fur. I love this. I think this is so much better. I think this, I really wish, I would love to see a new reissue using that design. Hey, Kiss people, come talk to me. Next time you guys want to do if you want to do a reissue, like a deluxe reissue of this album, because I'm sure there's a lot of great Gene outtakes from that album that you're going to want to include. Come hit me up. Maybe I'll license that album cover to you. Okay, so coming in number 21, that last album I actually have a copy of here. I'll show you. Number 21, I have Monster. Yeah. The thing about, I don't know, it's just, it has that really, I don't like this cover much, and I don't think this is a very popular cover. I like the album. I really think this is a really great album. But the cover is a little bit cheesy. It kind of has, it's a bit too processed and modern of an image. I don't like that Gene is looking sideways. It just like, there are other photos from this session that I've seen that I thought are so much better. That I just don't like this particular photo. Again, I don't like how overly processed it looks. It looks like it's for like a video game or something. I don't know. And yeah, I just feel like this album, there could have been some sort of, people have done, like a lot of people online have done their own covers for this, where they have like a picture of a monster, like the face of an actual monster on it. That would have been so much cooler. And you could have, then you could have like the band photos on the back and maybe an inner sleeve that has, this dumbass photo or something, or whatever. But yeah, I really love the lettering. I think the lettering for the album title, I think that's great. But the actual picture of the band, They could have done so much better with this. So much better. But, good album, though. All right, coming in number 20. Unmasked. Yeah, from 1980. Unmasked. Yeah, that album cover is... I like Unmasked. I think that's a great album. Well, see, the thing about it, that album is that it was very clear who they were making their records for at this point. They were obviously making their records for kids. There's a cartoon on the cover. And you know what? I was a kid when this record came out. I was 10. And yeah, I was the target audience. And I was into it. And I love that album to this day. I mean, a big part of it, of course, is the fact that I got into that album at 10. So, of course, I'm going to love it now. If I heard it for the first time now, if it was one of those things where there were, a handful of Kiss albums I'd never heard and that was one of them, and then I listened now, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how I would feel about it. Maybe I'd like it. Maybe I'd hate it. I don't know. But as it stands, I really like that album. The cover, I like the idea of the comic strip thing for the cover, but I don't like the style of the art. Yeah, it looks airbrushed. It looks like it has this cheesy kind of airbrushed look about it. But I like the idea. But whatever. I mean, Kiss Unmasked, great album. All right, coming in number 19, Psycho Circus. Yeah, the 1998 original band reunion album, and with the lenticular, not 3D, lenticular, whatever the kind of cover. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's an okay album cover. I kind of like that. Okay, it is a little cartoonish and a little cheesy, but I like it. Okay, I mean, it's Rock and Roll Over's cartoony, so I mean, it's not like they hadn't already been doing that kind of stuff, right? And that album is kind of hit or miss for me. There are songs on that album that I really like, songs on that album that I really don't like, but the cover, yeah, I think I would put that above Monster. Sure. Sure. All right, it's coming in number 18, Kiss Alive 2. Yeah, now Kiss Alive 2 is an album I chose to add to this list, even though it's not an official studio album, because it has new tracks. All of side 4 is all new tracks. Not my favorite Kiss Live album. Not really, but and not really one of my favorite covers of there. I feel like it's kind of iconic with the big letters, just like Kiss Alive 2. But I also feel like they could have done something. I don't know, with a great live shot. I mean, they had already done that with the first one, but why not do it again? I think a great live shot of the band on the cover would have been better. The photos, the actual photos of each individual photos of the members that are used on the cover, amazing. I mean, obviously that Gene photo with the blood and sweaty hair is one of the most incredible live shots I've ever seen of anybody in any band. I mean, when I was a kid, that was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen in my life. But the front cover design that's mostly text with pictures kind of a little small at the bottom, it could have been better. Okay. Man, you Kiss fans are just gonna... Oh, the hate comments I'm gonna be getting. Well, if you don't like it, then you're not a fan. Okay, fine, I'm not a fan. Anyway, coming in at number 17, Double Platinum. Yeah. Now, this is a compilation that doesn't have any new tracks on it. It has remixes on it, mostly, which I like. But I put this on the list because it is the most classic Kiss compilation. I mean, I'm a 70s Kiss guy. I grew up listening to Kiss in the 70s. Like, I'm an actual 70s Kiss kid. So the Double Platinum album is iconic to me. And, I really like the cover. It's really plain, it's really simple, but it's really cool with that, with the reflective cover, the a la Monkey's Head reflective album cover, and then you open up the inside and it has the sort of textured images of them. And the thing that I always thought was really cool about the images of Kiss inside the Double Platinum album is I almost felt like you could almost get an idea of what they look like without makeup, or at least that's what I thought at the time. I thought, ooh, you can almost kind of see what they look like. Not really. But Double Platinum, simple but iconic album cover, for sure. Okay, so coming in number 16, Revenge. Yeah, Revenge. Now, this album cover is really... Okay, talk about simple album covers. Revenge is a very simple, to the point album cover, but I think it's effective because Kiss was definitely in that mode of trying to make it a little bit more kind of back to basics in a 90s sort of way, but back to basics just the same. They wanted to be kind of stark and just sort of like, we are, in leather pants, leather jackets with goatees, and we're rocking again. No more synthesizers, no more Top Gun shit, no more Bon Jovi shit. This is straight to the point. And I feel like that album cover, as simple as it is, does get the point across. It is one of those album covers where you look at it and you go, okay, I know what this album sounds like. Yeah, and that's one of the things I think is really important for an album cover to be able to do. You should be able to look at an image of an album cover and get an idea of what the vibe is of the music. And I think that album cover does the job. Okay, so coming in at number 15, Sonic Boom. Yeah, I think, a lot of people hate this record, and a lot of people hate this cover. I don't think the cover is great. I do appreciate that they kind of tried to do a Rock and Roll Over homage kind of thing, especially since they were kind of trying to do a 70s Kiss homage musically on this album. But it's not bad. I don't dislike this at all. again, it's a little cartoony. They have a lot of cartoony album covers, unfortunately, but I don't think this is bad. You know, it kind of takes us back, in a way, it kind of takes us back to that vibe of Kiss from when we were kids, doesn't it? And I think some of the tracks do too. And, you know, not perfect, not amazing, not iconic, but I like it. I think it's okay. Sonic Boom. Number 14 is an album cover that I would think that I wouldn't like, because it's very 80s. It's very 80s. Probably the most 80s Kiss album cover there is. Asylum. Yeah. Now, I think Asylum is one of the best non-makeup, 80s non-makeup Kiss albums. And I don't think that cover's bad. I like that cover. I mean, you know, it's very 80s, again, like I'm saying, and I'm not really big on 80s stuff and 80s imagery, but I think that album cover really works. And I love the fact that they actually have a photo of the band on the back instead of just like a plain back cover with just text, you know, just like the song titles on the back, which usually they have. Their back covers tend to be pretty uneventful, but they have a really great, albeit 80s, image on the back cover. And but one thing is about this album cover is that this is the very first image that I can think of, at least, where they start introducing the idea of other people besides Ace and Peter having Ace and Peter, how do I say it, elements. I'm not saying this very well. Basically, on the front cover, Eric has green lips, a la Peter Criss, and Bruce has blue lips, a la Ace. And of course, Paul has purple and Gene has red. So that's the first time, I think, if I am not forgetting anything, where like that kind of a thing happens, where they kind of go, oh, we're going to give these other guys the Ace and Peter thing. I don't know. You know. But all of that said, I think that's a good album cover. I like that album cover. All right, so coming in number 13, one of my least favorite Kiss albums, but one of my favorite album covers of the 80s. Crazy Nights. Yeah, you know, I'm one of those, I'm a Crazy Nights hater. And, and I know, it means I'm not a Kiss fan. I know. But I think that is easily one of their best album covers of the 80s. In fact, I only have one non-makeup 80s album cover above it, so there you go. Yeah, I really like the broken mirror image and just, everything. I think it's really well done. So much better than the music contained therein. So much better. Ugh. And coming in number 12, my favorite of the non-makeup 80s Kiss album covers, Lick It Up. Yeah, now, it's easily the simplest album cover. It's one of their simplest album covers ever. And it's a bit of a homage, ripoff, of the first Pretenders album. See what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yes, Pretenders did it first. No, Kiss didn't invent it, all right? But I think it's a really great album cover. You know, it's just really stark, just them standing there in black leather, mostly, and just going, here we are, no makeup, this is what we look like, plain white background. I think it's really great. I think it's really eye-catching, and yeah. Well, also, I really like, as far as Kiss, non-makeup Kiss era, I think Lick It Up is when they looked the best. I like, because there's still a little bit of that early 80s, even late 70s vibe about them. You know, they haven't gone 80s yet, really, in terms of how they look. Or maybe a little 80s, but like early 80s maybe. Maybe they're a little, I don't know, I just think they looked a lot cooler during that period than they do during, say, Asylum. Okay? But, good album cover. Alright, so coming in number 11, The Elder. Yeah, now, The Elder, I think is a great album cover. I mean, now, I always thought, well, especially when I was a kid when that came out, I was really disappointed that there was no image of the band on the cover anywhere. Like, you open the gatefold, and there's the table with all those chairs, but why aren't Kiss sitting in the chairs? Something. I only knew what they looked like at the time because of 16 Magazine, and I thought it was really, really interesting that they looked so different all of a sudden, and there was nothing of it on the album cover. Now, I understand why they did that, you know, because they were trying to have a bit more of a serious, maybe more sophisticated kind of image for that album, and I see what they were going for, but you know, we're Kiss fans, man. We want the visuals, and we want the visuals, and we want band images, okay? And but that said, I think the front cover, image with the hand reaching for the knocker on the door, iconic, totally striking, absolutely says everything that needs to be said about what they're trying to put across with that record, even if the songs don't always do that. But I think the cover is a win, absolutely. All right, so coming to number 10, Dynasty. Yeah, Dynasty. Now talk about a simple album cover. Just, the four faces crammed together inside a tiny little box there, which was a great image to come after the solo albums because, you have the solo albums with the four paintings, and then you get Kiss back together, and they do Dynasty, and here's a real image of them crammed together, the four heads. And when that record came out, I stared and stared and stared. I mean, as we all did when we were kids, we stared at all those album covers. But that album, I really stared at because it was such a clear close-up of their faces, and I would just stare at it and notice things like, the smudge of white makeup in Ace's hair and every little fucking detail of that album cover I would just stare at. And, I mean, it was basically the best photo of their faces that was available at the time, wasn't it? Like the closest, the clearest. And, I think it's not only one of my favorite Kiss albums, but it's a really great cover. All right, it's coming to number 9, Rock and Roll Over. Yeah, Rock and Roll Over. Now, like I said earlier, I've complained about all the cartoony Kiss album covers, and Rock and Roll Over is a classic Kiss album, one of my favorite Kiss albums. And that's a cartoony album cover, isn't it? But, I don't know, what's the but? I mean, I like it. I think maybe I like it because it goes back to my earliest days as a Kiss fan. So there's probably, I'm probably looking at it through rose-colored glasses, and it's also, I think the fact that image is not so, it doesn't have this overly, like it doesn't have a computer, like this has a computer-generated kind of vibe to it. Rock and Roll Over is more earthy. Rock and Roll Over has more of an earthy vibe to it, and that's one of the things I love about it. And I think it's also easily the most iconic. I keep using the word iconic, I know. I need to learn some more adjectives. But it is easily the most iconic of all their cartoony album covers, to me at least. And I love the fact that, Rock and Roll Over, it has movement, I think it's a really cool album cover, and it's a really great album. All right, it's coming to number 8, Creatures of the Night. Yeah, Creatures of the Night. Obviously, that's a well-loved Kiss album. I love that album, too. It's a great Kiss album. I think it's one of their best covers. I merely have it at number 8, but, there's a lot of great covers that I have above this one. But, man, I always thought this was such a great album cover because, well, one of the things that is so well done is that I think after The Elder and the whole debacle of The Elder, and I love The Elder. I don't think I've said this yet. I actually love The Elder as an album, but, it failed. There was, a lack of Kiss on the cover, and it was just, everything was so head-scratching about that album. Creatures of the Night, they're back to just, doing straight-ahead rock, in fact, heavier rock than they've ever done before. What they needed was that image of them on the cover that lets you know the Kiss that you love is back. You know what I mean? There's no more concept albums. This is an album of ballads. It's not a country album. This is a Kiss album. And that really is what that album gets across. But I also really love, I love the blue kind of image of them in the night with their glowing eyes and the sky. And I love the colors, the blue, light blue with pink, which is very 80s, but I think it works so well with that album cover. And I always really, really liked that front cover. Granted, with a band like Kiss, generally, I don't think you can go wrong with band photos for album covers, except for Monster. But with Creatures of the Night, I think that's one of the best. I like it even better than Dynasty as far as close-up of their faces kind of covers go. It's just cooler. All right, it's coming to number 7, Love Gun. Yeah, oh man. Talk about iconic. Oh, there's that word again, drink. Yeah, iconic, but come on. Is Love Gun not iconic? The hours I spent as a kid staring at that album cover, at every little detail of the painting. And, there's so many things that were weird about it because it's an unfinished painting. And I didn't know that as a kid. So, thinking, why is there a floating head? Why do Ace's boots just sort of disappear at the bottom? I mean, I guess maybe it's supposed to look like it's smoke, but no, it isn't really that. I think he just, it's not finished. There are a lot of details that are just not there because the painting is simply not finished. But man, what a great image. Ken Kelly, and he'd done such an amazing job on Destroyer, and I think he did a great job on Love Gun too. I mean, yeah, Love Gun. All right, it's coming to number 5. The solo albums. Yeah, the solo albums. I didn't want to list each individual album and rank them. I'm ranking them as a collection. Now I will rank for you right now the individual ones within this number 6 ranking. Ace is my favorite image, then Gene, then Peter, then Paul. Okay, not necessarily the order in which I like the albums, although I do like Aces the best. I mean, when I was a kid, my favorite image, of course, was Gene, because, the blood and all that kind of stuff. But over time, Aces. It might be a little bit of the fact that because I love that album the most, but I also just like the color. I love the blue, and I just like this one the most. But, yeah. The solo albums, number 6. So coming in number 5, Dressed to Kill. Yeah, boy, what a cover this is. Now, this was just about one of my top 3 probably favorite album covers when I was a kid, because of course I absolutely love this image of them in suits. I thought that, I guess I thought the same thing that I think now, that it's just such a humorous image, but also an ironic image, and yeah, it's just so great, and I love the look of the black and white. Now, the only reason why I have it as low as I do on this ranking is because I'm not that big of a fan of the overall graphic design. This image is incredible. Now, if the whole picture, the whole cover had been the image with some text on or whatever, or they found some other way to kind of wrap around, to kind of dress up the edges or something, I might like it more. But it's really, that's a minor complaint. This is absolutely an incredible album cover. One of my favorites. Yeah, but I do think they could have found a better way to deal with the edges. But whatever. That's a small complaint. Dressed to Kill. Talk about an iconic album cover. Dressed to Kill. Okay, so coming in number 4, Kiss, the first album. Yeah. Now, again, the only reason, I already mentioned why I put Dressed to Kill where I put it. Dressed to Kill was begging to be ranked above this, but the reason why I put this one above Dressed to Kill is because I love the simple Meet the Beatles-ish sort of presentation of this. This is very much like this is a manifesto. This is here we are, world. This is us. This is what we look like. This is what we do. We are Kiss. And I also I've always really loved the weird early makeup on this. Peter, I mean, when I was a kid, talk about staring at album covers. I stared the hell out of this album cover because it was so weird, because they looked so weird. Why does Ace have silver hair? Why does Peter have that weird makeup? Yeah, it's just, it was kind of weird and creepy. I always really liked early Kiss stuff because there was this weird and creepy kind of early, not quite fully formed vibe about it, and this really, really, really shows that off, and as clear as you could get, basically, at the time. But great album, and a great cover. All right, it's coming to number 3, Hotter Than Hell. Yeah, now Hotter Than Hell, talk about one of my favorite Kiss albums. Ooh, yeah, and that cover. Now, when I was a kid in the 70s, still collecting Kiss albums, and I didn't have them all yet, Hotter Than Hell, there was a little, we lived in an apartment. Across the street there was a shopping center, and there was a Rexall drugstore there, and they had a little record store, or a little record section, and I would go in there, and this was back in the 70s, this was in the day when, as a kid, I could just, go off on my own and go to the, go to the stores across the street, and I would go in there on my own, and they had a copy of Hotter Than Hell, and I would stare at that album cover. I had no other place, no other record store, drugstore, or there was Montgomery Ward's. There were all these places that had records. I would never see Harder Than Hell anywhere except for at this one place. So I would go over there just to look at it, and there was so much to look at on this cover. Just so many colors and shapes and collages of pictures in the back, and and the thing about that album is that you could tell it had that early vibe. It had that dirty, dangerous early Kiss vibe about it. Looking at the back cover, it was like, ooh, yeah, this is not Unmasked. Although I don't think Unmasked was out yet. But yeah, I mean, this is not a cartoon. This has got some meat to it. This has got some dirt to it. This is a little filthy. There's just something like about this. And yeah, to this day, it's one of my favorite album covers. All right, so coming to number 2. Destroyer. Yeah, Destroyer. Now, this is the very first image I ever saw of Kiss. The first time I ever laid eyes on Kiss in my life was when this album was new. I saw it in Woolworth, and yeah, so for me, this is almost kind of like the ultimate Kiss image, because this is what introduced me to the very existence of Kiss, really. And yeah, I mean, I've used the word iconic. I've used the word iconic 1,000 times in this video, but Destroyer? What the hell else could you possibly describe this as besides iconic? Oh my god. Yeah, come on. Alright, so coming to number 1. Kiss Alive. Yeah. What is there to say about this? This is easily the most perfect Kiss album cover ever. One of the most perfect album covers. Like, just in terms of album covers by any band, any era, any genre, this. I mean, this cover puts across, like I talked to earlier about covers that put across what is contained inside, what you're going to hear on this album. This album cover really does that job. And because the thing is, it's not only the excitement of Kiss Live that it puts across, but also the kind of the sort of ramshackle, dangerous early vibes of early Kiss, of pre-blockbuster Kiss. And I remember seeing this the first time I saw it was at a Merrill's drugstore. Yeah, back in the 70s, you had to go to drugstores and shit to find records. Well, I remember seeing this at Merrill's and just being like, whoa. It just looked like, it almost looked like it was like them in a club or something. I remember looking at that and being like, is that them like when they were still a club band or something? That was just like, because, I was used to like, you had the Budokan concert on HBO. This was around that period, I think, when I was seeing this for the first time. And so this just was so much more earthy than what I was used to. And man, what a cool... this is so badass. Kiss Alive. Easily the best Kiss album cover, as far as I'm concerned. Alright, so there you go. There's my ranking of the Kiss album covers. Not to be confused with the ranking of the Kiss albums themselves. I would rank ranking the albums based on the music contained would be a different order. In fact, I have a couple of early videos on this channel where I do exactly that. But, yeah, that's my ranking of the album covers. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and thank you to everybody who has been watching my videos, and thank you for subscribing. But if you haven't subscribed, you may want to consider subscribing. But if you do, click the little bell because notifications, and come back on Thursday because Crystal Durant and Tommy Von Voort are going to be here, and we're going to continue our Albums of the Year series, and we're going to be discussing our favorite albums of 1998. Yeah. And, yeah, so come back for that. And that is that. I'm trying to think. I'm having this. Am I forgetting anything? No, I'm not forgetting anything except for to say, see you guys soon.